Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to look at the FW-190 A8, the Focke-Wulf 190, one of the most successful German fighters of the Second World War, and what is rapidly becoming my favourite Warbird, if I'm honest, having flown it for the past couple of days. So it was introduced in 1944, and it was one of the most produced and very most capable fighters that the Luftwaffe produced. It was powered by a BMW 801 D2 14-cylinder twin-row radial engine. That's a mouthful. And it boasted a maximum output of 1,700 horsepower. That, combined with the aerodynamic design, meant that it could reach speeds of 654 kilometers an hour. For those of you not good at maths like me, that's 406 miles per hour at an altitude of 21,000 feet. So pretty impressive. It had several advancements over its predecessors, including increased armour protection and improved armament. Its standard armament consisted of two 13mm MG 131 machine guns, and they're above the engine. We'll zoom in on them in a sec, show you them, as well as four 20mm MG 151 cannons, which are in the wings, which made it formidable in both air-to-air and ground attack missions. Had wide track landing gear, which made it excellent for landing compared to the 109, which is a nightmare to try and land. Had good visibility in the cockpit, which we'll see in a minute when we get in there. And my favourite thing about it, it had an ingenious engine management system, which I'll try and pronounce, but I'll probably get wrong. The Common Grat, and it's a mechanical computer that automatically adjusted the fuel mixture, propeller pitch, supercharge setting, and the ignition timing based on the throttle position, which made it so much simpler and easier for the pilots, so they could just focus on the dogfight and not worry about changing all those settings. You see it once we get in there and once we get flying, it's so much simpler. Massive improvement over all the fighters of the day. So livery wise, comes with loads of different liveries. They're all really smart. I love this one just because of the colourful nose, but it comes with loads of different German liveries. It also comes with a couple of unique ones. It comes with an RAF one. I believe we captured one during the war, and it was obviously repainted into RAF colours. An American one and an American one as well. I imagine that we handed it over to them, or they caught one as well, painted it up in their colours. One thing might be a little bit controversial: the swastika's been removed from the tail at the back there. You can see they've basically exploded it out, so it's no longer a swastika. I know it's difference of opinion. I prefer historical accuracy personally. I did look into it, so if you go to air shows in places like Germany and Poland, they will be like this. They will have had the swastika removed or changed, because the law dictates that you can't display a Nazi symbol. Whereas if you go to an air show in the UK or the US, unless that plane is based in Germany or Poland, it will have the true proper markings, the swastika on it, because they prefer historical. They prioritise the historical accuracy of the aircraft, because they're museum pieces as opposed to not offending anyone. I personally prefer them to be historically accurate. I get why some people get upset by it, but I think it would look better personally if it was as it was. I imagine that FlyingIrons have done it like this because this product will be available in Germany and Poland as well. So that's just an explanation of why the tail looks a little bit different than it should do. So we're at Duxford. Going to do it a bit different today. Going to do an try and do basically an air show. This is freeware scenery, which you can get from FlightSim.2. It is the Airshow add-on for Duxford. It's really good. I love it. It's so accurate, so well detailed. The only reason I don't use it very often, especially for videos, is it really drains my computer. So I end up losing a lot of frame rate and it can be a bit jittery. But hopefully we'll get around that with some changing of camera angles and stuff today, but I thought it'd be nice to give it a go. So we're going to do try and do an airshow performance in the FW190. So just quickly before we go inside, the outside, as you can see, is as we expect from FlyingIron now, meticulous. It's so good. I think where they shine the most is with the cockpit, but externally they've put so much effort into it. It's so impressive. I honestly don't have a bad word to say about it. You can obviously open, as I've done here, open up the engine cowlings while it's on the ground. It must be on the ground when you do this, obviously, in cold and dark. All these German boxes and toolkits and stuff, and the fuel bowser at the back, just to make it more immersive. It's really good. You control these from the tablet. I'll show you how to do that in a sec. So I just really want to show you this engine because they've put so much effort into it. I mean, look at the detail on that. You've got the 2 machine guns that I mentioned at the top there. Yeah, you can't knock it at all, can you? It's fantastic. So good. The effort they've put into it is really commendable. See the cannons in the wings there. Yeah, it's just my opinion, but I think this is probably their best one. I don't know how it fits in with time, which one came out first, to be honest. I haven't looked, but it's so good. So good. So even more impressive than this is the cockpit. So let's jump in, have a look at the cockpit, and I'll show you what I mean. So here we are in the cockpit. Before we get too far in, let's open up the tablet and turn off the ground equipment. So in settings page, you just click that and it gets rid of. If I look outside now, you'll see all the engine cowlings have gone back on, and all the boxes and stuff have disappeared from the outside. While we've got it open, we just rattle through the tablet really quickly. It's the standard FlyingIrons tablet. Probably the only sort of different or most important one for me is the replaced German with English. So for example, if I look down at these fuses, see auxiliary tank, external tank, rear tank. If I change that, look down, yeah, good luck figuring out what all those are now, unless you speak really good German, and my German's not that good. So quite a handy one, replacing with German. You can take the weapons off if you want. Simplified ground handling is a must if you haven't got rudder pedals. Without the differential braking, you will really struggle on this. And I like to have a World War II dressed pilot, just so it looks real. So workshop, as you can see, I've been flying it a bit, so I've used up some of the oxygen. You just click on it to replace it, repair it. You will wear down and damage components, same as with most of the FlyingIron ones, so you just got to be careful and check this after your flights. Autopilot, if you need to use it, if you're doing a long flight and you want to step away for a cup of tea, you can change your loadout, put auxiliary tanks on. You can go quite a decent old range with this if you're that way inclined. The usual statistics, the usual flight data, the handy page that's got all your speeds and your checklists should you need to use them, but I'll show you roughly what you need to do today to get it started, so you don't need to worry about that. So just looking around the cockpit, we've obviously got the canopy open at the moment, but you can see it is a good view, same as with all the Warbirds. When you're on the ground, you are looking at that massive engine in front, the big old BMW, but once you get airborne, that will level out so it looks sort of like that. So as you can imagine, you've only really got this A-frame in front of you blocking your view. Other than that, your view is very good. So just zooming in or looking in close, as always, hats off to FlyingIron. I mean, that's just unbelievably good. Weathered, so three-dimensional, it just looks insane. I have literally not a bad word to say about their cockpit. So good. So that is pretty much all of it. Not much else to show you inside. Let's get it cold started. One thing I will say now before we get started, you can't sit idling on the ground with this beast for long. We will keep a hell of an eye on that gauge down there. That one, which is your oil temperature. That will rocket up if you just sit here. This lever here controls the radiator panels, which if I stick my head out are sort of here, and they will pop out. They'll open up like on most of the Warbirds. You're able to open up the radiator while you're on the ground. That's so important. I've forgotten that a couple of times while I've been practicing. Taxied out to the runway, tried to take off, and it just wouldn't pick up any speed. We just poodled along at like 50 kilometers an hour or so, and I couldn't work out what I'd done wrong. I must have done it 5 or 6 times at least. And then I glanced down and thought, oh, that gauge is right over there temperature wise. And it was because I hadn't opened up the radiator and I'd sat idling too long looking at things. And it just totals your engine, and you go in nowhere once that happens. So you've got to keep an eye on that. But we'll go through that on the start. So we will get her started up, and we'll taxi past these lovely people. We're going to take off from the grass field runway today, which I think is right 24, I think. We'll double check that, which means we'll take off from over that direction, out there, past the US, I think that's the US hangar up there, beyond that Coast Guard helicopter, and then we'll perform a little show and then try and land it. It is very comfortable to land compared to the 109 and the Spitfire, but you'll see when we get that done. Okay, so for our cold and dark start, first we're going to do is check the parking brakes engaged, which it is. Next we're going to turn on the breakers, and basically you've got a panel of breakers at the front there, uncovered panel in the middle, another big panel at the back, and then these are the armament breakers here. So you need to go to the first panel, and then if I just lean in, we're going to turn on most of them. First thing we're going to turn on is the battery, then the generator, then the FW-190, ignition starter, pitot tube heat, we don't need the flight suit heat, cabin lights, navigation lights, flight instruments, and you see them come to life straight away there, and gun sight and armament, we don't need the N2, and then we can close that up. Then we come to the rear breakers. These essentially are all going to come on. I'll just run through what they are. You got the radio, landing gear drive, flaps, prop drive, prop pitch, horizontal stab trim, artificial horizon, engine generator, repeater compass, landing gear actuation, and then the last one is the FW-25 self-destruct. We'll leave that out because we're not planning on self-destructing today. So all the others can come on. I mean, close that up. These are the armament ones. They are automatically in. We're going to pop them out because we have no intention of nailing the crowd at Duxford. And then fuel-wise breakers, you've got external power here. We're not using external power today, so we don't need that. But we do want the forward tank, and the rear tank. External tank and OGS tank we're not going to be using today, so we don't need them. So that's all the breakers. Next we're going to turn on the oxygen, which is this one here, and you'll see it on that gauge just there. It comes to life. We've got the flow rate underneath there, so we know our oxygen is pumping through because we are going to be pushing it quite hard. Next we check our fuel. Fuel gauge is here. It's automatically on the front tank. Plenty of fuel in the front tank. Just flip it to the rear tank. Again, fully fueled at the rear tank. So we can close that up. We don't need that anymore. Next, we're going to turn on the fuel selector. Now, the fuel selector here, if we put it all the way to open at the top, you'll see that we get fuel pressure in this one here. That then means we don't have to worry about mixture or anything like that. It will do it all for us. That system that I mentioned before, you just chuck it into open and relax basically. So once we've confirmed fuel pressure in this one here, we need to prime it. So the primer is here. Now you won't be able to see, I don't think you'll be able to see this through the screen, but it gets stiffer as you pump it, comes out less, goes slower. I mean, you can almost feel it through the click, which is I know it's a really minor thing, but it's a lovely little touch. So you can feel when it's getting primed properly. Manual says 8 to 10, so let's give that a go. And see how it was getting slow there. I'll just do one extra one. Mags to both. So mags are up here. This one, both is all the way forward to the 1 and 2 position. Throttle to start. Now this is the brilliant thing about this plane. The things that you're doing all have different indents, like modern day aircraft. So we can just push that straight to start. No sort of crack it an inch or 20%, it's just put it to what it needs to be. Proper German engineering for you. Next, before we start the prop, we just lean out, clear prop, check both sides, make sure we haven't got a rogue spectator or an engineer working underneath. If we're happy there's no one there, uncover the starter. It's one starter for the flywheel and the start, so essentially you push it down once it's uncovered. You push it down for the flywheel. It's going to keep popping back unless I use it. Push it down for the flywheel and you'll hear the flywheel spin up. Once it's at max speed, then you pull it up. About 15 to 20 seconds of activating the flywheel, and then that'll start the engine. So push down and we listen carefully. And that's it, the sound's leveled off, so it's not getting any faster. So now pull it up. That'll recover itself. And there we have good start on that lovely BMW engine. Now first thing we're going to do is get this radiator. Let's see if I can actually see them opening. So it's fully open now. You see the radiator flaps have come there. Beautiful engineering, so that will just assist in keeping that cool. Okay, so our after start checks, we are supposed to close the canopy, but we're going to leave that open just as we do our taxi, just so we can wave to the crowd. We're going to set our altimeter. This knob here, annoyingly it's in meters, so it's a bit of guesswork because I'm used to working in feet. Horizontal, artificial horizon, sorry, is uncaged. Compass is working. You can adjust it as so, but we're not going to need it today because we're going to stay close to the field. Flaps. Now the flaps are controlled here. You've got 3 settings: up, down and takeoff. And before I press it, our flap indicator is just here. So if I keep an eye on that, it's set to take off. You can see it's gone to 10 from 0, and same on the other side. I'll have to lean out a little bit to see it, but that's so that we can tell if our flaps are working from within the cockpit. They're different on each type of Warbird. Quite simple on this one. Next, check our trims at 0. Trim is controlled by this switch here. Nose down, forward, nose up, back. Trim indicators here. No matter how much you adjust it, this gauge doesn't seem to change, so I don't think that's fully modelled, even though it's a glitch in my system. But that's how you control your trim if you want to adjust your trim. So just before we take off, check everything looks good. Plenty of fuel. We've not got sprung a leak or anything. We've got fuel pressure. Oil temperature is not too bad, although it is rising quickly, so we need to get a move on. And we've got oxygen flow. Everything else is looking good. So let's taxi out to the runway and go and entertain the crowds, shall we? Okay, we'll just get ourselves into position and we'll do a couple of pre-flight checks and then we'll get this amazing machine in the air. So we'll get ourselves lined up. The grass here has not been cut, so it's not as smooth as we'd like it, but we shall make do. Nice and easy. It's a lot easier to get lined up when there's a difference in the grass, but the sims just unfortunately made it all the same. Okay, that looks about right there, just about. There we go. Okay, so we've taxied into position. Runway ahead of us is clear. So final checks. Canopy closed. Oxygen is flowing. We have enough fuel. Oil temperature is rising quickly, so we need to get on with it. We've got fuel pressure. No concern on any of the gauges. Flaps are set. You can't quite see it under the throttle there, but we can see it on the wing indicators on both sides. So we are good for takeoff. So parking brake off. Throttle gently through to max. Really powerful engines that picks up really quickly. You should feel the tail wheel come up about 150. There it is. And then about 200, give or take, we should be able to take off. There we go. Little shimmy as we come. Gear up. You can hear the gear travelling. We'll stay in line with the runway for our initial climb. Above 300, flaps up. Bring the throttle back to the climb indent. Takeoff successful. So we'll start our right turn. Fairly tight right turn. Not going to build up. We can start leveling out now. We're not going to build up any more altitude because we want to stay low enough for the crowd to enjoy. Just got to keep our eye on the airfield. Make sure we don't go too far. And make sure we don't dip. It is very easy to lose because obviously everything looks the same around here. Lots of fields. It's very easy to get disorientated. So we're just using this time to the rear of the crowd, out of the way. All the display happens in front of them. This is just to get positioned for our first manoeuvre. And first manoeuvre is just going to be a low flyby. Nice and simple to start off with. And as you can see, by levelling up the top of where the gun sight is, if I get it level, there you go, so you can just about see the horizon. That puts you, if you lean in, you can see we're not gaining any altitude. We just dipped because I've taken my eyes off it. And then for the turn, if you get the horizon dead in the middle, you'll tend to, oh, just need to come off the speed a bit. We're creeping up there at 600 kilometers an hour. That's better. Okay, so that is just about right there, so we can make our turn. I'll try and show you what I mean here. So if we keep that horizon in the middle, you'll pretty much stay level, just about. A combination of using the horizon and the gauge, because altitude and speed is so important with the airshow stuff. And straighten her out there. See there, just a second looking away and we dip. So we're about 300 meters, if I'm reading that right. Just a bit over 300 meters. No idea what that is in feet, but it feels about right. Okay, let's turn into the airfield. 400 knots. Try and keep that nice and level. I want to be to the right hand side of the tarmac runway. Obviously we can't overfly the crowd. We have to be I think it's 230 meters away from the crowd. So that will take a bit. We have got permission for low altitude today. So we'll get it nice and low for them. Now we're all lined up, so we can pick up our speed, get up to about 500 kilometers an hour. So we're on the climb indent. Show them the belly as we come over. And up we go. A little bit naughty there, we definitely overflew some of the crowd. Obviously it doesn't really matter on here. It makes for better footage. But they certainly wouldn't do that in the real world. Okay, so for our second manoeuvre, we just need to spin back towards the airfield. We're just going to go across the runway performing a roll. So the key is to get back in play as quick as you can, because obviously everyone's not wanting to look at an empty sky. So you have to do some quite tight turns. Overshot a little bit here, so need to reduce our speed. We're doing 500 kilometers an hour. So going back on the throttle, line ourselves up. Again, we need to be as close as we can without overflying the crowd. Go. Camera roll. And another one. power on. Okay, so this next one is probably the most difficult and the most dangerous. We're going to try a Cuban 8, so basically an Immelmann loop into another Immelmann loop. This is where it can all go horribly wrong. As per all the other Warbirds, the 190 does not enjoy doing loops. You get it even slightly wrong, it'll bite you. So we need plenty of speed, so much so going to go max speed, and we're going to pull out the emergency boost. Line up to the right of the runway. Centre of the runway. Start our climb. That speed comes off real quick. Over the top. Roll. Get the speed back up. And then start the next one. Roll wings level. Back on the throttle. Ease out of the dive. And there we go, we're still alive. The aircraft hasn't broke. You can hear it. They've done such a good job of modelling it. You can hear the shaking and the creaking when you're pushing it way up to the limit. It's so well modelled, and yeah, hats off to them. It's really good. Okay, time for a bit of a crowd pleaser. Take a right turn, gentle right turn back towards the runway. We're going to do a high G turn, and we'll do it as close to the line as we can, the display line, so that people get a good view of us and get some nice videos and pictures, etc. Stuff the crowd likes. So stretching just to make sure we can see where the runway is. Constantly checking altitude and speed. This is a difficult thing with, you don't realise with display shows how much they've got to be orientated to where they are, their speed, their altitude, because it's so easy to drift. Okay, nicely lined up. Little corrections. Make use of that lovely cockpit. Got the hangar, that's our marker. It's lovely, great big hangars. Okay, so it's lined up, and then we'll bank hard right as we get to the centre of the field. Passes the American hangar, and that's it there. Hard right. So we've got to really concentrate now on trying to keep a level as possible, keep the speed in just the right zone, not overstress it. You'll hear it as soon as it starts to overstress. Start to buff up. That's nice and tight, looking good. Coming back over the runway. Good. Yeah, that should make for some lovely shots on the ground. Perfect. Try and get her a little bit tighter on the next one. Keep an eye, we want to be coming in just towards the end of the runway. Yeah, that's just about right. Line up on the hangar. And then show my belly. Level her out. In with the throttle into the climb. So now we'll just throw it around a few more times while we wait for our wingmen to get into position for the flyover. So while they're out regrouping, getting all formed up, we'll just keep the crowd entertained with a few diving strafes. A little bit naughty heading straight in towards the crowd, but we'll be forgiven because they're only simulated. Do a couple of these, and by that time our wings should have formed and we can take position at the front, ready for the final flyover. Throttle on as we pull up. Roll around. Important thing is to regain the horizon. Back in for the same manoeuvre on the other side. These are proper crowd pleasers, these. Onto the bow up. And away we go again. And roll back over the right wing this time. They're a lot of fun to fly, these ones actually as well. It's probably the most enjoyable manoeuvre. And line up with a runway. And line her up. Say goodbye to the crowd. We'll see you again in a moment. And go and pick up our colleagues. So general right turn, and we'll form up at the front of the stick. Get eyes on the runway. There we go. And then we'll roll out left, get wings level. Set our speed, make sure our altitude's good. Final checks. Okay, time to bring it in. That's the end of the show. Everyone else is down now, so being the head of the flight, we're the last ones to land. So we'll get lined up, get her on the ground in between the next displays. So the landings need to be quite quick. There are very small gaps at the air show. It's mildly entertaining to see them take off and land, but the main thing people want to see is the aircraft performing the manoeuvres, so we need to get out of the way. So nicely lined up. As soon as we get slow enough, we'll get this canopy open so we can start looking around that massive BMW engine. Okay, slow enough now that we can drop the flaps. Check on both sides, flaps deployed. Now bring in the gear. Nice wide gear on the 190, much better than the Messerschmitt 109, which is absolutely bugger to land. The 190 actually lands quite nicely. Okay, get the canopy open. That's better. Can actually see what we're doing now. Start to line up. Doesn't really matter where we land on the sim because they haven't cut the runway. Grass is all the same length, too long. So as long as we're to the right of the tarmac runway, we're good. And over the threshold. speed right back. Last few feet. Oh, that was rather smooth, if I don't say so myself. Didn't really feel that. So throttle all the way back, starting to bring in the brakes. Pulling back on the stick to stop that tail from flipping over. And there we go, successful landing. Time to get ourselves taxied off the field, make way for the next flight. So quick checks in the cockpit. Bring the flaps up, you can't quite see them, they're just under there. Use the hotkey and just make sure the indicators show on both the left and the right wing that the flaps have come up. That's the left wing, good. And on the right wing as well, lovely. A little bit of right rudder, bringing the throttle nice and gently. Ease ourselves round to the taxiway. We'll do this nice and slowly so that everyone can get their pictures. And our parking spot is by the brown hut. Parking bay number 9, I think it is. So we just slow as we go from the grass to the tarmac because we're going onto the main taxiway. You can see it's clear, but we'll just show some caution. A little bit of right rudder, quick check over the left, make sure it's clear. Yes, it is. And then needs a little bit of throttle to get going when it's in the grass. There we go, much easier on the tarmac. Just bring it all the way in. Nice and steady. It's the easiest way to do it, is looking out the cockpit, looking around that great big engine. And there's our brown hut. We're parked, should be parked right next to that. Get nice and close to the crowd so they can have a really good view. So to stop the engine, we just use this yellow switch down here. That's the engine cut-off switch. There you go, prop stopped. And we'll close off the radiator cover. Just move the throttle and check the flaps, showing us up, good. Close off the magnetos. And close the fuel valve. Turn off the oxygen. Ooh, hit the canopy there. Close off the oxygen. Reopen the canopy. And then it's just a case of putting the breakers back in. All the ones that we opened up before. Just close them all off. And that is it. We are cold and dark again. Well, not cold, but we're dark. Everything turned off. So we'll leave this here for the spectators to view. Successful airshow exhibition. So, all in all, I have genuinely not got a bad word to say about the FW-190. it is without a doubt my favourite Warbird, and as per usual, FlyingIrons have done an absolutely amazing job of it. I'm really looking forward to their next one. I've heard that they're going to do a B-17, which I'm very much looking forward to, but I genuinely can't find anything I don't like about this plane. It is that good. So I hope you enjoyed watching that as much as I enjoyed throwing it around, and I'm definitely going to be flying this more often now.